Welcome! I'm here to talk about Deltarune, but more specifically about its cosmology. Now you're probably wondering, what is cosmology? Can you touch it? Can you eat it?
Can you kill it?
Are you cosmology? Well, how about we start with definitions first? Cosmology is a branch of physics that studies the universe, and it seeks to solve mysteries such as where the world came from, how it started, what it's made out of, why it behaves the way it does, and what will happen to it in the future. Before we dive right into Deltarune, let's just talk for a moment about our universe. The scale of our universe is still a mystery that we're trying to solve today. We still don't completely understand the things that lie outside of what we can observe, that is, on a quantum or cosmic scale, aka the very, very, very small and the very, very, very big. Some people say that each one of us are universes of our own for the microorganisms that live on and inside of our bodies. Is our universe similar in the grander scheme? Are we microorganisms for something much, much larger than us? To quote astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, I occasionally wonder if the entire universe is nothing more than a snow globe on the living room mantle of a space alien. I know that idea sounds super duper scary and existential, but don't fret. Instead, why don't we talk about the cosmological structure of Deltarune and its significance? In Deltarune, there are three major universes that influence the course of the story. They aren't alternate or parallel universes like how Undertale is to Deltarune. Nope, instead, they're universes that exist inside of each other, kind of like a Matryoshka doll or a turducken or even the structure of an egg. There's a similar concept to this in Buddhism, specifically in the Flower Ornament Sutra, which states that the universe is comprised of innumerable and infinite worlds that mutually contain one another. This is known as Vertical Cosmology, where instead of being arranged parallel, worlds are inside of and contain other universes. Moving on, now shall we return to Deltarune with my egg cosmos metaphor? The middle layer, which is like the whites of an egg, is the monster human world or the Lightner world, inhabited by Chris, Susie, Noelle, Birdley, and the rest of the monsters and humans. The deepest layer, like the yolks of an egg, is the dark world, inhabited by the darkners such as Lancer, King, Queen, and the outer layer, like the shell of an egg, is the player's world, aka our universe, inhabited by the soul and us. And what relationship do these worlds have with each other? Well, each inner layer is a creation of the worlds outside of their own. The Dark World is a universe created from the objects in the monster human world, given life by the Lightners through the power of imagination and creativity. And similarly, the monster human world exists within a program from our universe, given life through the player's determination to progress through the game. The Dark World, to the Lightners, is what Deltarune is to us, a universe contained within a fiction. And judging by the way that Chris responds to some of our dialogue options, they seem to be already aware that everything and everyone in the Dark World isn't real in their universe. Susie, on the other hand, believes that the Dark World exists. We're gonna have to break the hard truth to her that Santa isn't real. Imagine being told that your very first friend never existed in the first place. Ouch. It's okay! Lancer is real in our hearts! Deltarune is essentially what's known as a mise en abîme, a work that lies within a copy of itself. It is a fiction within a fiction, a creation story within a creation story, and a game inside of a game. And I imagine Deltarune is developing into this meta-narrative, all about realizing one's own place in the grander cosmos, seeking what's outside of it, and the ripple of consequences that may arise from this kind of existential quest. Now, what do I mean by ripple of consequences? Well, shall we imagine a situation that may have started it all? Let's just say you're a scientist, trying to understand the nature of your own universe. And in this pursuit, an experiment of yours goes terribly wrong, shattering your soul across space and time. And this new game perspective allows you to look into your own universe from the outside. From this, you begin to realize a horrifying truth. You and everyone you know were just an insignificant speck of a much larger reality. Almost as if everything as you knew it were just a game. Who wouldn't go mad at this realization? Now, how about we try to explain some mysteries in Deltarune with this whole egg cosmos theory? Starting with the prophecy of the roaring, how Rousey describes it, it almost sounds like the catastrophic result that happens when one disrupts the natural order of the universes. For instance, mentioned in the prophecies is the balance of light and dark, and the chaos that would occur when dark takes over light. And in that case, the yoke of this cosmos would be larger than the egg whites, thus throwing off the whole structure of their universes. Furthermore, chaos would also ensue if any of the layers are breached. Like, if the shell or the yolk membrane were ever to break, then their contents would go where they aren't supposed to. And I'm thinking that might actually relate to the titans that Rousey mentions, which is a result of when an inner universe witnesses the realities that lie outside of it. These scary titans are really just a real form of the lighteners, that, to an object's perspective, may look like a giant. And the real form of everyone in the light world is the darkner's equivalent of eldritch cosmic horror. I mean, just imagine giants coming down, tearing apart your home, and throwing everyone and everything you know into what's essentially a prison. Sounds kind of horrifying, right? And not only that, Rousey also mentions that the roaring will cause the darkners to turn into statues. Doesn't that just mean that they return to being objects in the light world? Not that I'm downplaying the roaring. I mean, to the lightener, it may not sound like a big deal, but to the darkner, this is a cataclysmic apocalyptic event. Moving on, I believe that everything I've mentioned also explains the existence of religion in Deltarune. For instance, to the darkners, lighteners are basically their gods. Even Shaw mentions that the lighteners created them, and a lot of the darkners worshipped them for a while until they felt betrayed. This kind of spirituality is also reflected in the light world. I mean, there's the church and Father Alvin, not to mention the repeated mention of an angel and of heaven. If you take the cosmic hierarchy of the worlds in mind, it only makes sense for the light world's heaven and angel to be our universe and us, the player. Finally, I believe that this theory might be able to give a compelling prediction regarding the night. To quickly recap, the Night is the antagonist of Deltarune. They're a mysterious character that can open up dark fountains like the Lighteners can, and is very insistent on bringing about the roaring. Why would someone be so desperate to cause the roaring in the first place? And who in the dark world may already have experience creating dark fountains like Chris? To me, this motive and these abilities may all point to one character: Des. What if, after the incident, Des was turned into a darkner, trapping her inside of the dark world? Then the only way for her to return to the light world is for her to cause the roaring. And if this idea isn't unsettling enough, here's a thought that's even scarier. Remember how the dust of monsters gets spread onto their favorite objects when they die? What if, after whatever happened in that incident, Des had died, and her dust was spread on her favorite guitar, imbuing it with her essence and bringing her back to life, but only in the dark world as a darkner? This could very well mean that Des is the Deltarune equivalent of Flowey. But that's just a theory. A game. I don't really know if any of this makes sense. Moving on. Now, you know how I mentioned that there's 3 universes in this theory? Well, I can't say that that's entirely the truth. What if I told you there's one more? Universe 4, the Beyond. What if I told you that you aren't real? Okay, wait, no, that sounds really dumb. Of course, all of us are real, but okay, how about I just phrase this another way? Hypothetically here, let's just say that you're one of the darkners, and one day a mysterious person drops by and tells you something that flips your entire world upside down. You are a thing known as an object, created out of materials from a greater universe to fulfill a specific purpose for their people. How would these words make you feel? Would you happily adopt the role that you were granted? Or would this realization turn you a little insane? Maybe you'd feel completely indifferent, maybe relaxed and nihilistic. Or would you fight back for your control upon realizing that none of your actions were ever yours and are instead being maneuvered around by a twisty, curly phone cord? This existential conflict isn't specific to only Chris. Every single soul in Deltarune experiences it in different ways. Most are blissfully unaware, but those who understand have to carry the heavy burden known as the truth. And what if I told you that all of these sentiments aren't contained to just Deltarune? I mean, aren't all of us trying to find our purpose and meaning in this big and vast universe known as life? And hey, maybe this purpose doesn't need to be anything grand or spectacular. Maybe all your purpose really needs to be is to eat pie and play piano. Hello, it's Luck here. Thank you so much for watching. I've been really hyper-fixating or hyper-focused really hard on cosmology and astrophysics, and I noticed a lot of parallels in Deltarune, so that's what kind of compelled me to make this video. And I don't know if any of what I said really made sense, or if this is even the direction that the game is going, but I hope that you still enjoyed watching the video and maybe found something interesting about it. And it's really daunting to kind of explore where you fit inside of the greater universe, but there's a certain catharsis to be had about kind of just realizing that all of your little problems don't really matter, especially in the grander scheme, and also realizing that you're only you for such a small window of time, so don't spend this time being anyone else. Just be you, whether that be, pursuing your passions, loving who you love, being your true self, or being a little bit cringe. Be you, because that's a job that only you can fulfill. That's all I want to say. Stay determined, everyone.